All right, so here we have quite a bit of duplication, and in React, if you have a lot of duplication, you may want to check and see if you can refactor that, meaning rewrite it to make it a bit cleaner, to not repeat yourself as much, right? So we have the dry principle in programming, don't repeat yourself, and you will see that in React a lot as well. So here, for example, you may want to extract this into a separate component, right? A so-called reusable component. So we can create one component that we can use for all of these 4 sections. So let's actually do that, and don't worry, this time we're not going to create a new file because we can actually also create a component in the same file, because we can have multiple components in the same file. And since this one is going to be, well, very closely related to stats itself, it makes sense that we actually just put it in the same file, right? So remember, a React component is just a JavaScript function. So I can say, let's have a function called stat, right? Individual stat, so that we can replace these 4 sections with just that one component. So I'm just going to copy this section here so that that stat section will just be that one stat. So here, what we need to do is return that from that component, right? So what I'm doing here is I took the first section here, and that's what I'm returning from this stat component, right? And now I want to use that component right here. So here, what we can do now is just write stat, right? I can just do that. If I save here, you can see it's back again, right? Right, so right now I just have added this one component here. It's just a function, but you do need to capitalize the name of the function. And let's actually see what happens if you don't do that. So if I have a lowercase here, and then I try to use that as a React component here, I actually get this strange color, right? So syntax highlighting, meaning the colors here of my code editor here gets confused. It thinks it's a normal tag here in the JSX, just like a div, let's say. And here it also gets a complaint here from ESLint because it thinks I'm never using it. So ESLint is not picking up on that I'm using this here. So typically the convention is that you just use a capital case here. So let's actually do that for our components. And now we need 3 more, right? So what we can actually just do is let's duplicate this 3 more times. Okay, so now we have 4 stats. And let's actually just remove all of those sections. Right, so now if I save here, you can see we have 4 sections again. And now it looks much cleaner. We don't, well, we do have a little bit of duplication, right? We have 4 stat components here, but it looks much cleaner. It's much less messy. Now the problem is, now we just have the same section 4 times. And ideally we can use this component for all 4 of those sections, right? So we want to have one so-called reusable component that we can use for those different sections. And right now we are just hard coding this number here and this heading as well. So when you want to make a component reusable, very often you're going to have to work with props. So you can customize it, right? So here, when I use that component, I want to be able to customize it. I want to be able to say, hey, this one should be for the words, this one should be for characters, this one should be for Instagram, this one should be for Facebook. Right, so here what I want to be able to do is the second one. Let's see an example. This one should be for characters. I want to say that, let's say the label here should be characters. So here you cannot just use label right here. Right, so here I want to be able to use label like this, right? But you do need to get this as a prop first. There's no JavaScript variable, you have to call it label. That's what we're going to get as prop here. So here we can immediately destructure that. Here we get the label. So now if I save here, you can see the other ones are going to be gone because we're not passing any label here. But now this one is going to be for characters. Right, so now we can use that label prop to customize that one component. So this one is going to be for words. If I save there, if I save here, you can see we get words. This one is going to be for Instagram. So now we see Instagram, and this one is going to be for Facebook. So this will be for Facebook. All right. So now we have customized this a little bit better. Now there's one other piece of data here that we also should be able to customize, which is the number. And right now I'm always hard coding the number 0. But here you can see Instagram and Facebook should be different numbers. So here we also want to be able to do something like, for Instagram, for example, the number that should be shown should be 280, right? And for Facebook, it should be a different number. So for Facebook, we want to be able to say 2,200. right? So we want to be able to pass that as a prop. So let's also accept that here. So number, and then we can use that right here, right? So I can use curly braces here and just use that variable like that. Now if I save here, you can see we see 280 and 2200 here. We get nothing for the other ones because we are not passing anything as a prop. So let's actually copy this and just pass a 0 for the other ones. All right, so I will just say 0 actually, just a 0. So now we have one component that we are using for those 4 sections. Right, so the fancy word for this is it's very reusable. And generally speaking, in React, you want to make your components reusable so you can use them in multiple situations. The benefit of that is, first of all, it cleans up the markup here, the JSX, quite a bit. And also, let's say you want to change something about the stat. Maybe you don't want to use the h2 tag anymore. Maybe it should be an h3. Now you only have to change that in one place. Right? I just have to change it here in one place instead of going through all of those 4 sections individually and changing it for all of them. Right? So it makes any change that you're going to make in the future also much easier. Right? So when you have a lot of duplication, see if you can maybe extract a component out of it. Now, that being said, most of your components probably are not going to be reused that often, right? So here, this is actually not that common where you have one component and you're going to use it 4 times. Many components here, I would say probably the most of them, for example, background image, I'm only going to use that once in this project, right? Same for footer, same for header. Right? Many of these components you're only going to use once. Right, but some of them you're going to use multiple times. Also here, I don't have to export this one, right? So I only have to export this one and I make it the default export. That doesn't really matter here. But because this one is being exported and this one is using this one, well, this one will automatically be included in that export essentially. Right, so we don't have to separately export this one as well. Right, so we don't have to write export in front of this here.